They march in silence, nothing but the sound of footsteps on what was, nearly 2.5 centuries ago, just a dirt road between two small towns. They are here to honor someone they never knew.
It's an interesting story.
A story that was almost lost. You didn't know this story before today?
No clue.
A tale of bravery and sacrifice. Could you imagine?
I could not.
They come around the bend to a small monument with a story of a bugler boy, one not any older than some of them.
A 14-year-old boy who perished during the Revolutionary War. James Gillies was his given name, but the men he served with called him Bugler Boy Gillies.
They hear the story of how Gillies, like many young boys, was a bugler with Light Horse Harry Lee's army.
Yes, they're my age. I couldn't imagine being in a war.
And how Gillies helped warn fellow Americans about the British cavalry that lurked nearby.
I think he definitely knew the risks involved when he was doing it, but he still chose to do it.
The Bugler Boy was to ride back to camp. Next came the British, who stopped and ordered the unarmed Gillies off his horse.
They hear about how Gillies died at the hands of those British soldiers and their sabers.
A 14-year-old just slain like that. Geez, I think that's horrific, terrible.
All right, scout salute.
More than 100 years after Gillies' death, just about the time his story was nearly forgotten, some local folks memorialized Gillies first in 1898 with this monument at the Guilford Courthouse Military Park, and later this small one beside the road near where Gillies died on that February day in 1781. Could you imagine doing what Gillies did?
No, I'll be honest, having a couple of days without power and internet is hard enough.
Each year on the anniversary of his death, the Scouts place flags in his memory and wonder about how his life might resemble their own. If Scouts existed 240 years ago, do you think Gillies would be a Scout?
I definitely think he would have been a Scout. The military structure and the Boy Scout structure, they're very similar.
I mean, he just kind of shows what a Scout should be: brave, courageous, kind to everyone.
Sense of duty.
Sense of duty, yeah.
Timeless virtues from James Gillies' life that these young men can use today. Gillies a guy you think you admire?
Yeah, I think so. They fought for their country and when they were my age.
Bob Buckley.
There's no such thing as being too young to help out.
Fox 8 News.